Let me be honest with you all watching for a second. If you have been out here grinding, sending out application after application, refreshing your email every morning, hoping to see something, anything, back from an employer, and instead you are getting nothing but silence, I want you to know that is not a reflection of your worth. That is not a reflection of your effort. What is happening right now in 2026 is bigger than you. And today we are going to break down exactly what is going on, why it is happening, and most importantly, what you can do about it right now. Because the people who understand this moment, the people who are paying attention, those are the people who are going to come out the other side of this stronger than they went in. And listen, I know a lot of you watching this right now are stressed. Maybe you just got laid off. Maybe your hours got cut. Maybe you are a fresh college graduate who did everything right, got the degree, did the internships, built the resume, and you still cannot get a call back. I see you. And you deserve the honest truth about what is happening, not the watered-down version that the mainstream media keeps spinning. So if this is your first time here and you appreciate someone keeping it real with you, go ahead and hit that like button right now. It genuinely helps this channel keep putting out content like this for free, and it means a lot. And if you want to stay ahead of what is coming in this economy so you are never caught off guard again, make sure you subscribe because we cover this stuff every single week. And we're not even talking about college graduates or those who have already been working for the past 30 years, but even high school students who are seriously reconsidering their path choices with everything that we're about to cover. Now, here is the truth that very few people are saying out loud with any real clarity. 2026 is shaping up to be one of the most defining and frankly uncomfortable years for the American worker in recent memory. We have got 7.6 million Americans officially counted as unemployed right now. The unemployment rate is sitting at 4.4% as of February 2026, and I need you to understand what that actually means in practice because that number on its own does not tell you the full story. That is what we are going to unpack today. The real story behind the numbers, the real causes, the real impact on real people, and the real steps you can take to protect yourself. So buckle up because you are not going to want to miss any of this. This is Unemployment is Out of Control. What's next? Let's get into it. Let's start with the February 2026 jobs report because this is where things get genuinely alarming. Economists, the people who study this for a living, were expecting the United States to ADD about 55,000 jobs in February. That was already a modest, almost cautious prediction, but what actually came back from the Bureau of Labor Statistics was a drop of 92,000 jobs. Negative 92,000, not a miss, not a slight disappointment, a complete reversal of what was expected. Private payrolls alone dropped 86,000. Manufacturing lost 12,000 jobs. Construction lost 11,000. And healthcare, a sector that for years has been the most reliable job creator in this country, lost 61,000 jobs in a single month. Let that sink in, healthcare. The sector that is supposed to be bulletproof because people will always need doctors and nurses in hospitals, it shed 61,000 jobs in February 2026. And it does not stop there. January's jobs numbers, which were originally reported as a gain of 130,000 jobs, got quietly revised down to 126,000. So when you add those revisions together, we lost nearly 70,000 more jobs than we thought we had gained over the last 2 months. This is what economists call a negative revision cycle. And historically, when you start seeing consistent downward revisions like this, it is one of the early warning signs that the labor market is deteriorating faster than the headlines are letting on. The 3-month average job growth right now is sitting at roughly 6,000 jobs per month. 6,000 jobs for a country of 330 million people. That is not a labor market that is humming along. That is a labor market that is barely breathing. And if you are sitting there thinking, okay, but the unemployment rate is still only 4.4%, that does not sound catastrophic. I hear you, and I want to challenge that thinking because that number is doing a lot of heavy lifting to hide how bad things actually are. The official unemployment rate only counts people who are actively looking for work. It does not count the people who looked for 6 months, got demoralized, and gave up. It does not count the person who wanted a full-time job but could only land 15 hours a week at a retail store and is being counted as employed. When you factor all of that in, the discouraged workers, the underemployed, the people who have simply stopped searching, the broader measure of unemployment, what the Bureau of Labor Statistics calls the U6 rate, is sitting at 8%. 8%. That is nearly 1 in 12 Americans who are either out of work or so underemployed that their situation is barely distinguishable from unemployment. That is the number that should be in the headlines every single day, and it is not. Comment below. Do you think the government's official unemployment numbers actually reflect what you are seeing in your own life and in your community? I want to genuinely hear from you because the data tells one story and real people on the ground are often living a completely different one. Now let's talk about WHO is getting hit the hardest in 2026, because this is not being distributed evenly, and it is important that you see yourself in this data if this applies to you. Youth unemployment right now is at a level that should be making front page news every single day. For Americans between the ages of 16 and 19, the unemployment rate is sitting at nearly 15%. 15%. For young adults between 20 and 24, it is sitting at around 9.5%. Think about that. We are talking about an entire generation of young people who are entering the workforce during one of the weakest hiring environments in years, and they are being met with doors that are either closed or barely cracked open. And if you are a young Black or Latino worker right now, the numbers are even more sobering. In cities like Chicago, nearly 82% of Black youth between 16 and 19 are jobless, not unemployed in the technical sense, jobless, not working at all. That is not a statistic, that is a generation being left behind in real time. And then you have the college graduates, the people who spent 4 years and tens of thousands of dollars, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars, getting a degree that they were told would open doors. Entry-level hiring growth for college graduates in 2026 is running at just 1.6%. 1.6%. That is not a typo. For context, the economy needs to grow entry-level hiring at several times that rate just to absorb the number of new graduates entering the workforce each year. So what you end up with is a massive backlog of qualified, educated, ambitious young people who are competing with each other and with experienced workers who have been downsized, all chasing a shrinking pool of available positions. That is not a fair fight, and it is not their fault. I want to stop here for a second because I know some of you watching this might be that college graduate, or you might be the parent of one. And I want you to hear this directly. If you did everything society told you to do, and it still is not working out right now, that is not a personal failure. The system you were told to trust is genuinely under pressure right now in ways that are unprecedented. And acknowledging that is not making excuses. It is being honest about the reality so we can figure out the right path forward, which we will get to. But first, let's talk about why all of this is happening. So what is actually causing all of this in 2026? Because the story is not simple, and it is definitely not just one thing. It is a combination of forces that are all hitting at the same time, and when you understand each one, the picture becomes a lot clearer. The first major force is what economists are calling the no hire, no fire dynamic. Companies right now are not going on massive layoff sprees the way they did during COVID, but they are also not hiring. They have essentially put a freeze on bringing new people in while holding on to their existing workforce just tight enough to say they are not cutting jobs. The result is a labor market that looks stable on the surface but is quietly strangling anyone who is trying to enter it or re-enter it. Job openings have stabilized between 6.8 and 7.4 million, but they are not growing. And with millions of people competing for those same slots, the ratio of applicants to open positions is getting worse by the month. The second major force is tariff-driven economic uncertainty. The tariff policies that have been in play have created a kind of paralysis in the business world. When companies do not know what their costs are going to look like 6 months from now because of shifting trade policy, they do not invest, they do not expand, they do not hire, they wait. And that waiting, multiplied across thousands of businesses across every sector, translates directly into a frozen job market. Manufacturing lost 12,000 jobs in February alone, and construction is not far behind, with both sectors facing serious headwinds from higher material costs driven by tariffs. So when people ask why isn't anyone hiring, part of the answer is that businesses are genuinely scared to make long-term commitments in an environment where the rules keep changing. The third force is one that is going to be uncomfortable for some people to hear, but we have to talk about it: artificial intelligence. AI is not coming for jobs in some distant future. It is here, and it is already reshaping entire categories of white-collar and tech work. The information and technology sector has been particularly hard hit, with companies realizing they can do more with smaller teams when AI tools are handling tasks that used to require multiple employees. This is not doom and gloom, it is just reality. And the good news, which we will get to, is that this shift is creating new opportunities for people who are willing to adapt. But for anyone who has been sitting still and assuming their current skill set is going to carry them through the next decade untouched, 2026 is the year that assumption gets tested. And then there is the Doge effect, the federal government job cuts that have been rolling through the economy since last year and are still creating ripples in 2026. Government employment dropped another 6,000 jobs in February alone, and those are not just Washington, D.C. jobs. Federal employment touches communities all across the country, from military bases to national parks to regional offices. And when those jobs disappear, the local economies around them feel it. small businesses that relied on federal workers as customers, landlords who rented to them, restaurants near government buildings. The ripple effects spread outward in ways that never fully show up in the headline unemployment number. Comment below, what industry are you in, and have you felt any of these forces affecting your job security or your ability to find work in 2026? I read every single comment, and I genuinely want to know what you all are experiencing out there. Now let's talk about the broader economic pressure that is sitting on top of all of this, because the unemployment story does not exist in a vacuum. It is happening inside an economy that is already stretched thin in ways that make every job loss hit harder than it normally would. Inflation is still running at 2.8% in 2026. Now that might sound like it is under control compared to where we were a couple years ago, and technically it has come down. But 2.8% on top of the cumulative inflation we have already absorbed means that everyday Americans, especially lower income and middle income households, are still paying significantly more for groceries, gas, rent, and utilities than they were just a few years ago. The raises and cost of living adjustments that were supposed to help people keep up have not kept pace, and the result is that millions of families are doing the math every month and coming up short. Student loan delinquencies in 2026 are at 21-year highs. 21 years. That means we have to go all the way back to the early 2000s to find a time when this many Americans were falling behind on their student loan payments. Think about what that means for a young person who cannot find a job right now. They are not just dealing with the stress of unemployment. They are dealing with debt that is growing with interest every single month and a credit score that could be taking hits that follow them for years. That is a compounding crisis, and it deserves to be called what it is. And then you have recession risk. JP Morgan, one of the most respected financial institutions in the world, is currently putting the odds of a recession in 2026 at 1 in 3. 1 in 3. That is not a fringe prediction from some doomsday blogger. That is a mainstream institutional forecast. And the thing about a 1 in 3 probability is that it is not a guarantee, but it is also not something you can afford to ignore. If there is a 1 in 3 chance it rains, you bring an umbrella. And right now, too many Americans are walking around without one. All right. And I want you to make sure you stick with me here, because this next part is the most important part of the entire video. We have talked about what is happening and why. Now let's talk about what you can do about it, because this is not a doom video, this is a preparation video. And the people who watch this and actually act on what I am about to share are the ones who are going to look back at 2026 as the year they made their move. And real quick, if you have not subscribed yet and this kind of honest, no-nonsense breakdown is valuable to you, hit that subscribe button right now. We do this every single week, and in an economy like this one, staying informed is one of the most powerful things you can do for yourself and your family. First, stop running from AI and start running toward it. I know that sounds counterintuitive when we just talked about AI displacing jobs, but here is the thing. AI is not replacing people wholesale. It is replacing people who do not know how to use AI. The workers who are thriving right now are the ones who have figured out how to use these tools to make themselves more productive, more valuable, and harder to replace. You do not need a computer science degree to do this. There are free and low-cost courses on platforms like Coursera, LinkedIn Learning, and YouTube that will teach you how to use AI tools in your specific field. Whether you are in marketing, finance, healthcare, customer service, or anything else, this is not optional anymore. This is the new baseline. Second, look seriously at the sectors that are actually growing right now. Healthcare and social assistance is the fastest growing sector in the entire economy, projected to grow at 8.4% through 2034. And yes, healthcare lost jobs in February, but that was driven by specific administrative and billing disruptions, not a structural decline. The long-term demand is undeniable because America's population is aging, and that demand for healthcare workers is only going to grow. Nursing, medical coding, healthcare IT, physical therapy, these are fields with real durable job security. Similarly, cybersecurity is exploding right now. Healthcare cybersecurity alone is seeing median salaries of over $107,000, which is 73% above the national average. And the beautiful thing about cybersecurity in 2026 is that skills-based hiring has become the norm, meaning you do not necessarily need a 4-year degree, you need certifications and demonstrable skills. That is a door that is open right now for anyone willing to walk through it. Third, build your emergency fund like your financial life depends on it, because right now it kinda does. With a 1 in 3 recession probability hanging over 2026 and a job market where finding a new position can take 6, 8, even 12 months. Having 3 to 6 months of living expenses saved is not a nice to have anymore. It is a shield. I know that is easier said than done when money is already tight, but even cutting one subscription, one dining out habit, one impulse purchase per week, and redirecting that money into savings adds up faster than you think. Start somewhere. Start small, but start now. Fourth, diversify your income streams before you need to. The concept of one job equaling financial security is becoming less and less reliable in this economy. Whether that is picking up freelance work in your area of expertise, starting a small side business, monetizing a skill you already have, or investing in income-producing assets, having multiple streams of income is what separates the people who weather economic storms from the ones who get washed away by them. You do not have to replace your salary overnight. You just have to start building something on the side that gives you options if your main income ever gets disrupted. Fifth, be strategic about how you are applying for jobs because the rules have changed. In 2026, the job market is hyper-competitive. More applicants are chasing fewer openings than at any point in the last several years. That means the old strategy of blasting out 100 generic applications and hoping for the best is essentially dead. What works now is targeted, tailored applications, customizing your resume and cover letter for each specific role, leveraging your personal network because referrals still significantly outperform cold applications, and positioning yourself as a problem solver for the specific challenges that employer is facing. Quality over quantity. And if you are a young person or recent graduate, do not overlook internships, apprenticeships, or contract roles as a way to get your foot in the door. Because once you are inside a company and proving your value, opportunities open up that you would never get access to from the outside. Comment below on this. What has your job search experience been like in 2026? Are you finding it harder to get callbacks? Are certain industries treating you better than others? Drop your experience below because honestly, the comment section on videos like this becomes a resource for other people who are going through the same thing, and that community matters. Now I want to zoom out for a second and give you the bigger picture because 2026 is not all dark clouds. There are real reasons for cautious optimism, and I want to make sure you walk away from this video with both the honest truth and the hope because you deserve both. The Federal Reserve has been cutting interest rates, and those cuts take time to work their way through the economy. By the second half of 2026, most economists, including JP Morgan, are projecting that we could start to see genuine improvement in hiring as those rate cuts begin to stimulate business activity and consumer spending. Tax relief that is working its way through the system is also expected to provide some tailwind in the back half of the year. So this is not a situation where we are looking at an indefinitely worsening trajectory. There is a reasonable path to recovery, but it requires patience, preparation, and the willingness to make smart moves right now while others are frozen in place. The companies that paused hiring are not gone forever. They are waiting for clarity. And when that clarity comes, when the tariff situation stabilizes, when the policy environment becomes more predictable, when consumer confidence starts to come back, the hiring that has been pent up is going to start releasing. And the people who used this period to upskill, to build their networks, to strengthen their financial position, those are the people who are going to be first in line when those doors open back. And here's something I want you to really hold on to. Every major economic disruption in American history has eventually created a new generation of people who figured out how to thrive within the new reality. The people who came out of the 2008 financial crisis strongest were not the ones who panicked. They were the ones who got educated, got strategic, and got moving. The same is true right now. 2026 is not the end of opportunity in America. It is a reshuffling. And reshufflings, as uncomfortable as they are, always create winners on the other side. Make sure you are one of them. Hit that like button if this video gave you something real to think about and take back to your life. It takes 1 second, and it genuinely helps this channel more than you know. And remember, we are here every week breaking down the economy in plain language, so you always know what is coming and how to position yourself ahead of it. The road ahead in 2026 is not easy, but it is navigable. And you have got more tools, more information, and more options than any previous generation of Americans has ever had access to. Use them. Get informed. Get prepared. Get moving. The version of you that is sitting on the other side of this economic moment, the one that took action while everyone else was waiting, that version of you is going to be very glad you watched this video today. Now, click another box on your screen to watch another video covering the real economy and what is coming next so you stay one step ahead.